I got a dead serious question. Why
Why is my shirt crooked?
that shirt though? No, this is more important than that shirt, man. And I got to know your answer. It's imperative to my survival.
Mm-hmm.
Would the Phantom of the Opera be super scary?
God damn it!
If every time he came into the scene, he would go, "The Phantom of the Opera is here."
I mean, it would suck.
I have to pay for that movie, and he's in it. Like he comes into scenes a lot
every second, dude.
It's like,
It's
dude.
like an opera, Phantom heavy, Phantom of the Opera.
They're just like, dude, shut the fuck up, man.
It's definitely Gerard playing him.
It's not even like scary. They're just annoyed at him.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you gotta stop with this thing.
They dropped the murder case and everything. There was like,
Yeah,
dude,
they're just begging
trying
to
to
be
get him
killed.
away.
Like, dude, just kill us. No need for a preamble. The Phantom of the Opera is here. I'd watch it though.
Yeah, it'd be pretty good.
Anyway, I'm wearing this hat because the bitch is back, baby.
Mm-hmm.
No, we're not talking about aliens at all. Actually, we're talking about something completely unrelated. A series that some might say went down into the crapper episode by episode. That's right. Apparently, it was a fucking show. The Hellraiser series is not a series that has done well in terms of keeping a value and the quality up. It's just it's not even a point of contention. It's kind of just like accepted as a series that's gone down the shitter.
Yeah.
You know? Now, we were on a mission to watch the entire series. I mean, we've watched it. We just were on a mission to watch it for the channel about a year and a half ago. But we stopped for some damn reason.
Yep.
And, you know, whatever. And this was back when we were doing videos for movies on our main channel, $10 Slimer. Well, we're not doing movie videos for that on that channel anymore. We're doing them here. So I guess we better start backwards.
All right.
We'll start from
it is backwards.
Yeah, we'll start
like my mask.
Yeah, we'll start from the last one back. And look, if you go watch our Hellraiser videos in $10 Slimer channel, you'll realize that for the ones that we reviewed, we were actually pretty forgiving of some of the sequels that most people hate, i.e. Inferno and Bloodline, which is, as far as we got, was Inferno. But and we also hated one that for some fucking reason everybody loves, and that's Part 3. It's atrocious,
Stinker,
easily the worst in the series, and I'm counting the fucking rip-off Great Value Pinhead one. Well, maybe not that bad. No, it's bad because it goes over the wall bad.
Yeah, and they had a real Pinhead in there.
Yeah, that's true. Doug
caca.
Bradley could have said, dude, I'm sure he did, though. I'm sure he was like, come on, man.
I don't know, he was in that Lemmy.
That's true. Well, they just used footage. Oh, no, he was playing chess with him. Never mind. Look, Lemmy's cool as fuck, but there's no excuse for starring in a Motorhead video where you're playing chess with... No, that is a good excuse.
That's the best thing.
It's a good excuse.
That's the best thing.
I can forgive Doug Bradley for that. He played chess with Lemmy. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Hashtag Lemmy's in hell. I mean, he would be, right?
They have such sights to show him, after all.
Anyway, I guess, yeah, we'll start from the back going forward, just like I do with sex. So,
That's horrible.
It's not good, dude. There's a lot of infections going on. Peen burns.
They call you Peenhead. Perfect Peenhead.
Anyway, this Peenhead movie.
Ball Peenhead.
Look, man, when I first watched this, I was pretty impressed, man. You know what I'm saying? Now, before somebody goes and rips me a new hole, that is, in case I wasn't clear. Look, I realize that this movie has a lot of limitations. They made this shit on peanuts.
Yeah.
This thing wasn't even 6 figures to make. It's fucking
3 cents.
3 cents it cost them, and a can of Great Value cream corn. And
almost...
nobody wanted the cream corn, man.
It's still there. That was the one thing Dimension gave them, and it's still there.
It's rotting, dude. Just like the real deal.
Oh, man.
Who the fuck eats cream corn?
Remember that time we bought for cream corn?
I remember it because it's still there.
Still there.
Anyway, cream corn budget aside, this movie was made for pennies, man. Yeah. But because of that, you could see some of the limitations in the work. You know, some of the effects aren't spectacular. Some of the actors, most of the actors are serviceable at best.
Yeah. There's definitely some like sound library, sound effects at times.
Yeah, you know, there's stuff there that you recognize inherently comes with the territory of making a micro budget movie. However, what sticks out the most about this movie is it's clearly a labor of love. One. Two, it's also a movie that understands Clive Barker more than Clive Barker did in this series. Not to say that, you know, really Clive Barker was only involved in the first one.
Yeah.
He had a producer role with 2, 3, and 4. But, you know, to what amount, you know, his power was involved there, we don't know. The point is, this movie understands Clive Barker, the author, more than Clive Barker does sometimes in his own movies. And that's because Gary J. Tunnicliffe clearly is well-read.
He's well-tuned into.
He's a guy that's stuck with his series as the effects guy since part 3, unfortunately. Actually, he was in the team for part 2, but, you know, he came to the forefront in part 3.
He was responsible for camera head.
Unfortunately, yes. But he is a guy that clearly has love for the series and has tried his best to do, at least as far as the effects go, what he can to keep it afloat, given that they give them, again, cream corn budgets. So, he actually had written the script to the one before this, which is Revelation, aka the one with the first time that Doug Bradley was not playing Pinhead, and everybody was like, this fucking sucks. Yeah. And to be fair, I try to be objective to that movie, and it does suck. It's not a good movie. It has the inklings of some good ideas there, but it's just, it's the razor, it sucks. I'm not even going to it. We'll get to that when we get to that. It sucks, it's the gist of it.
Unfortunately, it's the next one.
But that's really not Gary J. Tunnicliffe's fault, because he wrote the script, and then Dimension, because, you know, it was run by the Weinsteins, who are asses, we now know. They tore it apart, man. They just made whatever they could of it. They moved him. He was fixing to direct that one, and they moved him to do something else. The effects for Scream 4, if I remember correctly. So he lost all control of that movie, and that ended up becoming this travesty of a film. However, he made sure that he got on board to do this one. Unfortunately, they slashed his budget even more, one. And two, he lost Doug Bradley completely. You know, he had already kind of lost him on Revelations because, you know, Doug Bradley was like, dude, come on, man.
I'm not going to work for Cream Corn.
This is already getting, this is bad. I've been in some bad ones already, and now Cream Corn, come on, man.
He still wasn't through his pay of 1,000 cream corn from the last movie. He's like, dude, I got too much. I can't.
You just, sometimes you got to stop the cream corn flow. And Doug Bradley was out, but apparently there was some sort of fallout between them because Doug Bradley thought that Tunnicliffe hadn't fought for him to be in Revelations when Tunnicliffe really didn't have any control over that anymore. And on top of that, Tunnicliffe had done a short to pitch this idea to Dimension and had excluded Doug Bradley, even though he had asked him. Just couldn't be bothered to come to the U.S., I guess.
For like a 6-second.
Yeah.
Short.
Again, the cream corn dilemma.
Yeah.
But, you know, he took it to heart, and there's now some sort of friction between them because of that. So, unfortunately, we don't have Doug Bradley as Pinhead in this either. But despite all these hurdles, I think the movie comes out a champion, given, again, how much it had to fight against. The tides it had to fight against. My opinion. What is your take on it? This is the first time you saw it. What's your take on it?
Yeah, I would agree with all that.
There's definitely
I changed it up. I didn't go, yeah, it was pretty good.
I like that minor change. That says the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I think ultimately the effort shows, and sometimes it's wonderful. And, you know, granted, the main plot with the heroes is kind of rehash of the plot in Inferno.
Yeah.
But the structure there is very Hellraiser 1, you know, and we still get these dips into that grotesque decadence in between as well. So it doesn't seem like they're cheaping out, even though you can tell that they're trying with their budget here, man. Sometimes, so there's elements kind of cobbled together. You could basically explain the plot is you know, a variant of Seven, you know, mixed in with Hellraiser. But it's about the new ideas introduced that are really old Barker standards. You know, the bureaucracy between heaven and hell.
Because the actual like kind of main thrust plot isn't particularly deep or surprising. You're just kind of like, well, it's that dude from the beginning,
right?
But yeah, what makes it interesting, like you said, is all that new stuff they introduced.
Yeah, and they introduced a new way for the goings on that we've seen for the past 1 billion movies to be seen by the viewers, just by the process of showing us the judgment, what goes on before a person is thrown into the bowers of hell. Just that alone is interesting enough, but to show us that hell is having a hard time in the modern world, attracting the right people to come towards it, and they have to apply new techniques. All those little elements, introducing the auditor, the assessor, all that stuff was really interesting and added a whole new flavor that at the same time felt like it belonged 100% in this world. And like I said, if you're a reader of Clive Barker's work, it's almost like if he created these characters. The way they look, the way they act, their roles, it's like, damn, it's straight out of Barker. So I don't know what Clive Barker thinks of this movie. The last one, he said, I'm not responsible for that abortion. So I know he's hated the series ever since really, he kind of hated part 2 also. If you go back to the old interviews and see that he didn't really even want sequels to this movie.
But Clive Barker seems kind of like an unhappy dude.
What's all that butt sex? Yeah. This no matter how much you like butt sex, it hurts.
After a while, the cream corn is not good lube anymore. Look, you gotta find new lube.
Yeah, man. I don't know if he's pretty much been a quiet guy for the last decade.
It's kind of weird.
It's pretty weird. I think he has HIV. I'm not just saying that because he's gay.
No.
Because obviously gay people are not the only ones that get it, but
it's highly possible he's got these super AIDS.
Yeah, the stigma's there, and then he was sick for a really long time.
And then there was that thing with his lover that supposedly having it. Or
something's going on with Clive. Yeah. The point is, he's my boy.
Yeah.
And but he hasn't spoken about this movie. He did speak about the last one and disowned it, like he's disowned most of them. But I'd venture to say that if he actually saw this, if he hasn't already, he'd probably be like, you know what?
It's all right.
Yeah, I dig that. And if you've read his work on the Hellraiser series that came from Boom Comics, which was basically his version of what happened after part 2, there's a lot of stuff in there that touches on this, and vice versa. So I was very pleased to see those elements come into play. But let's talk about this movie, pros and cons. What should we start with?
I have a quick con to throw out.
Let's start with the cons. Go ahead.
I don't have many. Like I kind of said, you do kind of hear a lot of kind of sound effects.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, they use this kind of like boom effect a little too much for my taste. Mainly because I've heard that effect like in other stuff. I was like, oh man, it sounds a lot like the Cinema Sins effect. So I could have done without that, but at the same time, like you said, it's freaking limitations. You gotta take what you got.
Yeah.
So I can't complain too much, but it is one of those things I noticed. I was like, oh man, I've heard that effect somewhere else. But whatever. It's a mini con.
This is it's a double-edged sword because it's a con, but at the same time, it's admirable. The effects sometimes are wonderful, unique.
Mm-hmm.
They stand out. They have edgy, cool factor to them, for lack of better words. But at the same time,
there are two words that have not been together
ever
in a long time.
But sometimes they're lacking. For example, the auditor, which is a very central figure, played by Tunnicliffe himself, by the way, which is pretty cool, and he does a wonderful job. I would have been interested in someone like Doug Jones do it. I think he carried the same demeanor.
But you can't
have the Doug him. In a Hell movie.
Yeah.
It takes a while. It takes a while for Doug Jones to do a Hell related movie. It took him a while to get into Hellboy. But anyway, the point is, the effect is great. The idea is great. Tunnicliffe is surprisingly good in the role. I say that because who would have expected that? But the effect is clearly a full-on face mask.
It looks pretty good.
So the movement sometimes is a little stifled.
That's kind of what I was gonna.
And it's noticeable, and it doesn't bother me, but it is something you notice, and you kind of go, well, like obviously that's what happened.
I think particularly like in the lip area, it's a little stiff.
And this goes for several other things, like if the Chatterer makes his comeback and he hardly does a chatter, even though the sound effect is there.
But he's like,
you can barely move that old chat.
Just realized my mouth's covered by my tents. He's like this.
The Stitch and the Wire Twins, I guess, are now one thing together. Yeah. So if you're a stickler for continuity in terms of your Cenobites, you're going to be like, wait a minute, it wasn't Stitch like an individual and the Wire Twins or something, but now they're Stitch Twins, I guess. Or maybe there was another set of Cenobites that were like, hey, I like your looks, guys.
Yeah.
Let me do it my way, I guess. Anyway, whatever. If you're a stickler for that, that might be a thing. I'm trying to think of other things effects-wise. Go ahead. They kind of had like really big heads.
The
twins, Stitch Twins, I guess.
They looked okay.
Is what we call them
now. I think like one thing that people will either like or hate is that Pinhead kind of has like this cloth.
Yes, so let's talk about that. The Pinhead is obviously the biggest effect that you have to worry about in this movie. You think, and honestly, I think they made the better choice because Pinhead is like a supporting character in this movie. Yeah. It's more like he's established. We already know what Pinhead is and does.
He's kind of just like sitting the whole movie.
He's more like an overlord character, whereas the bulk of the work is done by the auditor and the assessor, etc. As you know, was pretty well explained in the beginning, so it makes sense. That being said, Pinhead is still Pinhead, and it would be nice if his chest, though exposed, wasn't obviously like a Halloween City fucking rib cage. You know what I'm saying? All flat and shit. Or, give the little chest a little substance there, man. Yeah. Like a little 3D-ness, not this fucking washboard that I can play some fucking folk tunes on. You know what I'm saying?
Get breezy on that washboard.
I like the idea. Yeah, I like the idea. It's just maybe even better lighting could have just obscured that a little bit.
I do like the kind of like cloth.
Yeah, me too.
That he has on him.
I think maybe he didn't get the body language down 100% sometimes.
Yeah, he was kind of like just kind of standing.
And
not cool even, just kind of there.
Right. But
he looked a little chubby, and I think that was just the cloth additions.
Yeah, but at least he didn't look like the guy from Revelations chubby. Yeah. That dude was just straight up from the Sandlot.
That was me and some white makeup.
That being said, Paul T. Taylor is actually a pretty cool Pinhead, man. But we'll get to that in the pros. So hand in hand with that is that the effects, though 100% not amazing all the time, I think also that the direction, this is this guy's first movie as far as I'm aware, Tuna Cliff's first movie. I mean, he's done shorts and stuff, but he's not a seasoned director, and sometimes you even as a viewer you could be like, maybe they shot it this way, that would look better, or this shot's not working 100%. But it's never glaringly awful, thankfully.
It also kind of has a little bit of that, I don't want to say, I mean, it was cheap, so let's just say that kind of like cheap color filter going on.
Yeah, this is obviously a graded movie, shot on digital most likely.
Yeah.
So, but they do a good job of at least.
Fine.
It does, I will grant it this, it does for the most part seem very cinematic. I wouldn't say very, but it does for the most part seem cinematic. I think mostly
like the outside stuff is where it's noticeable. It's kind of like, oh man, it's kind of fake gray.
You got any more cons to this movie?
I think just the fact that the main plot with the detectives isn't particularly, I don't want to say interesting because it is interesting enough. It's not particularly new. Let's say that. And that's where kind of like some of the bad acting comes in.
Yes.
So yeah, I guess that would be my last.
Yeah, they kind of go hand in hand. That's also going to be my last, I guess, for now, and that is that yes, of course, some of the actors are people you'll never hear from again.
Yeah,
and that's probably a good thing, not for them obviously, but for the sake of watching a movie, they're not particularly great.
Yeah,
any of them. The best ones are Gary Tunnicliffe and Paul T. Taylor. They're the best ones, and maybe the main detective.
Yeah,
maybe. He wasn't bad, but the other two detectives were pretty awful. Some supporting characters were pretty awful. You know what? I scratched that. The best actor / actress in this was Heather Langenkamp making a what the fuck out of nowhere fucking cameo with some landlady.
Yeah, it was just
like, what the fuck was that shit?
Grumpy.
Yeah, Grumpy. Yeah. By the way, she has aged dramatically since fucking Nightmare on Elm Street.
I'm not gonna lie, I saw her name in the credits, and I was like, wow, that was her. And boop.
Yeah.
Face.
The first time I saw it, I was like, so where was Heather Langenkamp?
Yeah,
because they built her pretty high. I mean,
she's in the credits.
I
in
would
the
too
beginning.
if I had her in my movie, but you know, I was like, she had to. I mean, there was really no female roles in this other than two, and then I was like, wait a minute, oh no! And I went back and it's the landlady, Heather Langenkamp.
She kind of looks like an old gypsy from Thinner now.
Yeah.
so
anyway, that being said, yeah, some of the actors are kind of, you know, they're serviceable for what you're more interested in. Which at this point should be the story, and that's where things really click. Now, like you said, yes, the main story is not particularly new. It's like I said, it's really a rehash of Inferno mixed with a little bit more Seven action in there.
It's kind of like after a certain point, Hellraiser was just like, we gotta have a detective in this.
Yeah.
For some reason.
That being said, I think this is like Inferno, an instance where maybe even more so in this one. An instance where it wasn't so much the story, it's the point it was trying to get across with the story. So that's why the story doesn't become a bother.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like saddled between a pro and a con. It's kind of like a thing that you're a necessity, I guess.
Yeah.
For
and it's not like it's bad or anything.
Yeah,
Something that you're kind of like, okay.
So now, if we think of any other cons, we'll bring them up. But let's talk about the pros in this. Pro number one is, as aforementioned, this thing gets Clive Barker's writing outside of Hellraiser. You know, it just touches on so many of the markers that he constantly revisits. Most notably, that bureaucracy between heaven and hell. The imagery is very Barker. You know, just weird, off the wall characters like the surgeon, this big hulking thing with a baby mask face, and this fucking gimp strapped to its back. Yeah. It's like straight out of Barker. Like, it was crazy when I was seeing it. I was like, damn, this guy was kind of reading Barker's mind. So I absolutely love that, man. It was the first thing I appreciated about this movie. From the, you know, just immediately started watching. I was like, I'm gonna like that at the very least. But anyway, go ahead and give me one of your pros.
I think if you ever want to see like a faceless big titty chick, you get 3 of them in this. That's a minor pro.
That's 6 pros,
and
they're all utters.
And also a huge pro, like that middle chick's titties. That being said, I would say Pinhead is a pro. He's pretty good. He's got the voice. Mm-hmm. He's a little chubby looking at times, and like you said, washboard.
And washboard ribs though.
Yeah, but I mean, most of the movie's just kind of sitting, but you're kind of like, yeah, he's cool. Which is kind of like the first thing about Pinhead. You're like, yeah, he's cool guy.
Yeah, there's supposed to be that air about Pinhead, and he kind of nails it. And you can only wonder what he would have done with the role had he had more time to prepare for it.
Chess piece.
A better chess piece, yeah. And so, yeah, he does a surprisingly good job. Unlike the great value Pinhead, he never makes you miss Doug Bradley. You know what I'm saying? That other guy was just like, dude, why am I in the Sandlot?
Lay off that cream corn, dude.
Yeah.
Freaking fat.
You got all the craft service cream corn.
Yeah.
Him only. It's piped straight into his gullet.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of gullets, the old fucking gore in this grabs you from groin to gullet. There's a lot of gore and grew in this, man.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's the type of weird, kind of like subtly disturbing gruesomeness that was present in the original too, versus just, you know, for the sake of it type of disembowelment and shit like that. It's bizarre. It's always coupled with something strange.
Yeah.
So it comes off as creative. It comes off as visually interesting and enticing,
like
which I appreciated greatly.
Like old hags suckling on a dude and making him drink all this gross shit, and just kind of like you.
Yeah. Very strange, very bizarre, but always interesting to look at. Yeah. Which, I mean, that hits stride again with part 2, with part 1. There was gruesome imagery, but it was alluring to look at, strangely, oddly. I also enjoyed a lot of like the tweaks in the mythology of hell. They were minor, and they were giving reason for these new elements to come into play. But I also liked how, and spoiler here, this movie made a really kind of major dramatic tweak at the end.
Oh yeah.
It's not, the Hellraiser is now in the hands of somebody else. Thankfully, after years
of Dimension raping it.
Yeah, Dimension just hoarding the fucking rights.
I think the big one of that Weinstein's biggest victim was.
Yeah,
it was actually just a movie.
He was literally fucking raping Hellraiser the series.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it was Bob Weinstein that was doing the Dimension stuff most of the time. But we'll just blame Harvey.
Yeah, there you go, Harvey. I couldn't remember who the diddler's name was.
Fucking Harvey.
It was Harvey.
I mean, Bob sucks too. Don't get me wrong. Bob, I think, is like the behind the scenes suck off.
Yeah.
You know, he's getting away with it still somehow.
Harvey's just getting sucked off.
Harvey just, he wasn't careful, dude.
Yeah.
Who the fuck wants to, what was it, like shower and jack off? I don't know what the fuck he was doing.
Weird.
The point is, they were fucking Hellraiser forever, and they've lost the rights to it, and it's kind of like a bittersweet pill now.
Yeah.
Because they finally had a sequel that introduced a lot of new and interesting elements, and it left off on a tone that you could say is a good ending for it.
Yeah, that's true.
But also made me wonder, I wonder what would happen next. So again, bittersweet. As an ending, you know what? This was a good ending. But at the same time, I just wonder what would... Yeah. Knowing the way Barker wrote Pinhead in the comics especially, you know that Pinhead would not stay, spoiler, on Earth for long. He would try to get back that power.
Especially because the Toonmeister clearly wanted to make a sequel.
The Toonmeister being Tuna Cliff.
Tunarama.
I
also call him Cliffsky. He's a pretty cool guy.
It would have been very interesting to see this continue. But yes, that ending was really a big pro for me, man. It's awesome. You know, the idea, how it was played off, the idea that you can't punish something that has dwelt in agony for a long, long time. Oh, no. Oh, we can. And it was clever. It was cool. It was neat. Yeah. I liked it quite a bit. And it chimed very well with that bureaucracy between heaven and hell element that was played up there. So give me another one, man, if you got one.
I kind of ended up liking the music. It does sound a little bit like not well implemented into, like, it sounds like a different track. Mm-hmm. But it was pretty neat. I liked it.
It definitely wasn't the Poltergeists, what the fuck is this music doing in here type of shit. Yeah. It's kind of like a little techno grindy kind of mix.
Kind of reminded me of like a cheaper Suffering soundtrack.
Yeah. It would have been interesting to go back to, the orchestral overtures of a Christopher Young, but we can't have it all. Yeah. And at least it's not the crap soundtrack of, say, Part 3.
Oh, shit.
Oh, man. They couldn't even get the orchestral parts right in that one. Shit.
Christopher Young works for Ravioli. Not cream corn.
Hey, look, man, Chef Boyardee's though. Anyway, another big thing that I liked. Oh wait, I just got to throw out a quick con here. It goes hand in hand with something I already mentioned as a con, and it's the acting. But an angelic element is in play here.
Oh yeah,
and she's a major part of the story.
She's pretty good.
Basically, there's an angel that comes into the mix to voice the concerns of heaven, and she is beyond wood. She's a pretty awful actress.
It's kind of like when they cast like a porn actress.
Yeah, pretty much.
You're kind of like, boop, stinky.
On the plus side, she does get killed, which brings me to my my other pro, which is they found an interesting way to make to blur the lines between good and evil in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Ultimately the movie presents again. Kudos to Tunacliffe on this, presents an old Clive Barker standard. The idea that no matter what the fuck is going on, God is always behind the scenes manipulating things. Even evil is under his, subservient to him. This was a major element in the Hellraiser comic book series, and that turned out to be quite surprising and to many, many, many good effects. So to see that played out here was super cool, and I really enjoyed that. And I got to say that the way they demonstrated that was awesome. And then on top of that, we got an ending that kind of did a switcheroo for a second. you know, with Hellraiser coming out kind of as a de facto hero.
Hellraiser?
I'm sorry, Hellraiser. That's his name now.
Hellraiser's a cool guy.
with Pinhead coming out kind of as a de facto hero by sheer default of him wanting to punish someone that deserves punishment, no matter what he's doing in God's service. For a second there, that those clear lines between heaven and hell were muddied, and but then of course it all goes back. It spins around, and that, you know, omnipresent, almost scary version of God is put into the background again. You never see him, but he's always kind of there, lingering in the background, as you know, Pinhead receives his punishment. Yeah, it was just really cool. It was very well done, man. It was, you know, again, it makes you wonder how all this would have played out with better actors and stuff like that.
Bigger budget.
But I really enjoyed that. You got any left there?
Nah, I think you hit him.
All right. Well,
oh, you do get a dog in someone, so that's kind of cool.
He's a pretty cute doggy.
Yeah, like this one.
No, this one's cuter, but it was doggy. Let's talk about our score here. Finally, on the scale 1 through 10. Again, we stress we're not comparing this to fucking Treasure of Sierra Madre, in which case this would get a fucking 0. Yeah. But we are comparing it in, you know, to its brethren.
I personally like Maltese Falcon more, so we're not comparing it to Maltese Falcon.
All right, I think Treasure's better, but I get you.
I dig the style.
Wait, did you ever see Treasure of Sierra Madre?
No.
See,
we started watching it, but I was so sleepy that I just ended up falling asleep.
Yeah, that would be a bad way to see it. But anyway,
so I got a
scale of 1 through 10. Let's rate this again.
Yeah.
In comparison to its brethren, its filmic brethren. Where does it stand? Any final thoughts you got on it?
I think it would have benefited from a bigger budget, obviously. It is kind of a bittersweet thing in that they finally got a good one, and now it's gone.
Yeah.
But at least the Toon Meister got to do his movie. So
old Toonorama.
There you go.
One hopes they bring him back for, you know, the effects at the very least.
Something,
stuff. And he get rid of that washboard ribs.
They could get him to do the catering. He could bring in his ribs.
Cream corn on
They're like, dude, there's no meat in these.
It's like, dude, look, man, I'm not saying I can wash my fucking calzones on these ribs. Look, Gary, we love you. But them ribs was bad. Anyway, go ahead.
I liked it. It's not up there, you know. So I think in the Hellraiser scale, I'll give it like a 7.
The hail, if you will,
because there's obviously there's better movies, but it's up there. It's up there in the series.
Yeah, man. This is easily the best Hellraiser movie since I'm gonna say since part 2.
That's true.
Honestly, and I say that even though I love the shit out of part 4.
It has problems.
It's not even I don't even really think it has big problems. It does have some problems. Don't get me wrong. They're just not glaringly big.
Yeah.
I just think that this one is a lot more original.
Neater. Yeah.
There's a lot more creativity behind it.
Yeah.
So that alone trumps it. So yeah, this is kind of the best Hellraiser movie since part 2, man. And you know, well, that alone should be testament to how cool it is. Now, like we mentioned, it does have a lot of problems that come inherent with the budgetary constraints, and you kind of have to take the good with the bad sometimes. And them ribs suck, of course. Hashtag them ribs.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I'm with you, man. I give this a 7, but that's a very enthusiastic 7. You know?
And it's only because there is better movies in the series.
And because, you know, you can't hide some stuff, i.e. them ribs. Them ribs, man. Anyway, do give this a shot, even if you don't give any of the other ones a shot. You know, a lot of these Hellraiser sequels kind of got the shaft. Some deservedly, like Cream Corn, fucking great value, lame-ass Sandlot Pinhead one.
I think the problem with a lot of them is that they don't make a big difference in the lore.
Yeah.
They're just kind of like a thing that's happening.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, that was neat, but it was just kind of a thing. Yeah, this one actually does kind of advance stuff, and it's more interesting.
Yeah, that's which is hard to do because the series really ended on part 4. It literally concluded everything. It told you how it ended. You know what I'm saying? So what do you have to do but tell stories in between and up to that point? This one does that in an interesting way, like you said. It brings something new to the table.
Yeah.
So kudos on that. In the meantime, I guess we'll get ready for the new one that's apparently being written by David S. Goyer, which you know already is going to make people go, I hate this movie. Because God forbid you forget all the good shit he's done.
He's a butthole in real life, thus
he's
got to be a butthole. And I don't like any of his things, despite the fact that I love Blade.
People suck, man. But anyway, it's the guy that co-wrote all the Batman movies you like. People.
All the movies you loved back in the day, he
and granted, he's a bad director.
Yeah, he's kind of
a good director.
Previously mentioned.
But cares. The point is, we're getting a new one, and it's gonna be a reboot. Thankfully, it's about time. Hashtag Doug Jones for Pinhead.
You know what my favorite part has been out of that news? People complaining about the news that they want to make Pinhead or Hellraiser a female. They're like, I mean, have you read the book, though?
Yeah, look.
Ooh, woo!
Yeah. People, look, I get it, man. I'm hating the unnecessary gender swaps and the weird, like, why does this guy have to be, like, another color? I mean, can't you just make a new character? Yeah. I hate that, too.
Pinhead's also black in the next one.
Yeah.
Hellraiser.
But, yeah, you know, Pinhead was a girl in the fucking books, so that's not one you can complain about there, chums.
Yeah. It's like
that being said,
gay.
Tony Todd as Pinhead would be fucking awesome.
That voice alone.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, he's a little chubby and he does love trannies, but that voice.
Well, the tranny part goes hand in hand with what's going on down there.
Point.
Just bring on tranny Cenobites.
Tranobites?
Tranny bites. The point is, there's a time to complain about that shit. And for anyone who doesn't know, we say this a lot on our other channel. We're Mexican. It's not like we're being fucking like, oh, we don't want Mexicans on the screen, or we don't want black people on the screen. No. There's a time and a place to do it.
Yeah.
There's a time and a place to do it, man. This one could work. Give me a, I don't know, who's in there cool. I was going to say Denzel, but that would be weird.
That would be very odd.
I would kind of see it,
Morgan
though.
Freeman?
Oh,
I don't know.
man.
We have such sights.
We have some. Why is he fucking like Harry Truman?
I don't know.
Anyway, the point is, I'm interested to see who they recast. I mean, who they cast as I know Doug Bradley's going to be in the corner like, be like, dude, come on. That fucking wobble you got going on is not good anymore. Some fucking George Lucas shit up in that piece.
Stop being so judgmental. Get it? Because we just want... But he's kind of got like a toot problem.
A little toot problem. Love him, but you know.
Anyway.
Tony Todd for Pinhead. Heard it here first. I can't believe they didn't bring him back for Candyman, man. I mean, the Black don't crack. He looks exactly the same, except for he's a little chubbier.
I think he'll show up.
But sometimes he's fat as fuck, though, and then sometimes he's thin as hell.
Yeah.
What's going on, Tony? I tell you what, though, his ribs would be better than those ribs on this fucking Pinhead.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've talked too much now. Let's close the book on this.
Kind of went off the rails there.
Hit like, share, subscribe, and those notification buttons, folks, because we are out.